folks, Champagne Friday again, and a very special one because I'm going to spend the entire Champagne Friday together with one house to celebrate one of my favorite champagne houses, Philipponnat. And if I say 1729, does it ring a bell? Is it Philipponnat? No. That is the year when the first champagne house was created, Réserve. But some of the people will mention 1584. Why? Because Goisses was the first champagne house that made still wines under its own name in 1584. But what few people actually know is that in 1522, the Philipponnat family had their own vines, started to make wine not under their own name, but for 500 years Philipponnat has been existing through the small place in Ailly, Le Léon, which is today a famous champagne under the name 1522 as rosé and as white. It's not here. We have a couple of non-vintages, we have a couple of vintage wines from this fantastic producer, but I'm focusing on two. First of all, absolutely recent release, and it's coming from a category that I wouldn't say dislike, but it's definitely one of the categories which are not my favorites, because it's a category created because people wanted to have a lower dosage 15 years ago, something like that. Everybody needed to have a zero dosage, and in most cases the sugar is adding something extra, gets longer aftertaste, it's more gentle and even bigger complexity. The only time when it could be beneficial on making a pure without dosage for non-vintage wines, for me, is when you have a very gastronomic style, when you have grapes of great potential from Pinot Noir mostly, and also warm, rich vintage. And that's exactly the case here. We have 2019 as a base. We have very strong Pinot Noir dominated from the great places around Ailly and Marais-sur-Ailly. We don't have any dosage, and I just tasted it for the first time, and it's rather great actually. It's in a beautiful gastronomic style. I will serve it together with Japanese food, and happily we're going to phone the sushi maker just to bring in the sushi and to have together with all three champagnes a little bit later. But what is it? Very, very great Philipponnat. Very great Charles Philipponnat, one of my great friends in the Champagne region. Look, back label with all the information. I don't need to study all of them. I can look each time. So what are we here? Little bit unusual grape composition. 67 Pinot Noir. That is quite common and exactly the style which is most of the time in Clos as well, their flagship. 31 Chardonnay and 2% of Meunier. What is Meunier doing in this? According to Charles, those 2% of Pinot Meunier is giving a small spice. It's just a hint of something which is very elusive. It's not to make it softer, it is to make the composition perfect. It's like the triangle in the orchestra. So, if you think that this will be a blockbuster with too much maturity, it's not the case. When I spin my glass, put down my nose, I'm immediately met by quite floral side, quite citrusy side. Of course, together with a little bit of leather, a little bit of tobacco, a little bit of this mature, full-bodied Pinot Noir notes. On the palate, it has this perfect combination between the richness and the absolutely razor-sharp acidity and purity because of the lack of dosage. So in this case, bravo! This is how it should be done. I prefer it much to the one with dosage, which is very rare. Name, what is it? Royal Reserve Non-Dosé 19 base. 2 glasses next to it. What is that? Clos, the steepest, the most famous single vineyard in around the Mountain Valley, starting from 1935, but as a still wine and under the name Vin de Goisses, and Clos de Goisses came rather late. I've been drinking them since '52, and they are among the most beautiful and the most ageable of all champagnes. They start a little bit harsh, they can go a little bit grassy when they are just released, but with the south exposure and the strong, pure, chalky minerality, they obtain a certain elegance which is just fascinating and beautiful. I got a question just before we started to make this film. What will happen when the climatic change is becoming stronger? It's already a place with 1.5% of higher alcohol, stronger richness, more vinosity. But if you look at the great vintages, like the '59 for instance, it's one of the best Clos de Goisses ever made. So I'm not afraid. The chalkiness and the composition of everything in the spot, the terroir, takes that. It will age beautifully and slowly. So, in this glass, Clos de Goisses 14. 14, a very light, pure, a little bit thin vintage in general. What's the result when Clos de Goisses is in the glass? A big wine. Immediately a big wine. A little bit closed in comparison with some other vintages from this famous spot, but immediately you have a very strong dark side of tobacco. You have a lot of olives, you have a lot of truffly notes, and you have some orchids, you have some honeysuckle rose. The taste is full-bodied but very fresh and lively. Nervous. Oh, I want to wait a little bit. And what is this? It's actually something I met for the first time in a blind tasting at the house. I got 2 glasses served for lunch a long time ago. It was the same wine. One was directly from the bottle, the second one was decanted. So this is the Clos de Goisses 14 decanted 2 hours ago. Very chilled, stayed outside to keep it really fresh but breathing. So it will give you a hint of what it will become like. And for me, what is happening? It's more of the oak barrels. It's a little bit more one-dimensional, but stronger, more open. Hazelnutty complexity. You know, this strong ailly, it's Mareuil sur Ailly, but ailly-like nose. Smokiness is much stronger. There's also a little bit of toasty, but I think more on that side. Vanilla and chocolate appears. I didn't find that at all in the regular glass. And there we go. Bigger, richer, bolder. Not the same beautiful, elusive style as you have directly from the bottle, but today, at this age, I prefer it in a decanter. Lovely. See you next Friday, and thank you very much for watching and listening my story about a great champagne house, Philipponnat.